Don't get me wrong, guys, these bracers have served me well over the years, whether it was a watermelon or a pumpkin or a watermelon wrapped in steak. Every foe I've ever faced wearing these things has fallen before my might. But the thing is, guys, I made these things 5 years ago, and back then this is what my forearms looked like. Not the worst in the world for the spry young lesbian that I was, but these forearms, they deserve better. So today I'm making some luxury leather bracers worthy of these puppies. I'm pumped, but more importantly, my forearms are pumped. Let's freaking do this. I don't know why I never did this before. Normally I'm making this stuff for the first time on camera and it takes freaking weeks because I gotta like go back and refilm every time I mess something up, or just like generally messing with the camera takes forever. This time I made the prototype off camera and I did it in like 2 days, epically. So this looks pretty plain, obviously, but you can see the functionality of it is pretty epic. We've got this articulated part right here, and the hand plate is connected to that wrist protection using paracord, so you still have the side-to-side wrist mobility without putting too much strain and stress on the leather right here. I simplified the way that you fix the hand plate to the hand. It's just this one strap with this buckle on it. Feels super good, handles really nice, got full mobility in the hand. It's like you're wearing nothing at all. The main difference though between this and the finished product, definitely gonna be the tread plate. Tread plate everywhere. Tread plate here, tread plate here, tread plate here, tread plate. Oh, the bracer is also fixed on here just with this paracord and this, I don't know what this thing's called, but you just slide that down, kind of wrap it around a little bit, tuck it in. So unlike the last pair of bracers or gauntlets or whatever you want to call it, I can actually put these on by myself. This looks okay. I promise it's gonna look a lot cooler once we get all this stuff on it. So we're going to start reverse engineering this thing. Man, this is great. Like, I just know what I'm gonna do now. That's awesome. It's like I'm following someone's tutorial, only it's me. Thanks, me. I appreciate it. You're welcome. So we're gonna use the pieces of the prototype to modify the stencils that we started out with. And we're gonna use stuff like this, where I've decided that this could just be one piece because this pivot pretty much doesn't do anything, to make new stencils. So through putting the prototype actually on my arm and moving around and stuff, I've realized I don't need all this stuff. I ended up cutting it away. And there's a lot of cool things about leather working, but here's one cool thing, is that in the case of something like bracers, nothing has to be like geometrically perfect or whatever. The only thing really important is that it looks good, it feels good, and that one looks the same as the other one. The shape is completely arbitrary. It doesn't have to look any particular way. If it looks good and feels good, you did it right. So here's everything. We got the bracer. If you're wondering why it's shaped kind of weird down here, it's because this part is the part that goes right here so that you can actually bend your arm. If you just do it straight across like that, then it like digs into the tendons right here when you try to bend your arm. And we got the hand plate that goes up here, then the wrist protector that goes on top and covers up the gap. The fourth piece is this thing that goes around your hand. This is 5/8 wide and I think 16 inches long. And all of this is just about 3/16 veg tan leather. It's really thick stuff. Okay, very important note. When you're cutting out your pieces, you have to flip the stencil over to do mirrored parts. If you don't flip the stencil, you're gonna have two identical pieces of leather, meaning the smooth side is gonna be on the wrong side of one of them. I like to do a rough cut first to get the pieces more manageable so that I can go in and do the more precise cutting. Try to get it pretty close so that I'm not wasting a lot of material. Symmetrical pieces though, it doesn't really matter. Why does this stuff smell like sushi? Frick, now I'm hungry. Did you know that you can actually look up the nutrition facts of a leather jacket? It's actually pretty high in protein. I mean, if you think about it, not even that hard. It's cow skin. And this is treated with like vegetable oil. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to just... A little tough. What's the word? Leathery? Yeah, it's a bit leathery. Could use some, I don't know, barbecue sauce maybe? Now we mark it out and do all the precise cutting. And a lot of you guys might feel like, oh, you didn't even show us how to make the stencil. Bruh, I literally sat here for like 3 hours just wrapping a piece of paper around my forearm, holding the air, marking it out like a pencil in my mouth. There's no tutorial, you just do it. Here, if it helps, I'll hold it square and you can put a piece of paper on your computer screen and trace it out. And that one, and there's that one. There you go, yes, that is very generous of me. Don't say I never did nothing for you, kid. And I gotta use an actual punch for these holes because this thing doesn't make big enough holes for the eyelets to fit into. Yeah, I'm doing eyelets. I'm going all out, man. All right, that's all the stuff in 52 minutes flat. Wow, I'm fast as frick, boy. So the leather is the easy part. We're gonna go ahead and skiv all the edges with an edge skiver. Zip, zap, zoof. And now grab your floof and your dye. Using a new dye this time, very exciting. Coal black. I've been using Buffalo Bill Brown. Bison Brown. Let's hope I don't spill this one on the table. It almost looks gray. It's so black, it almost looks gray. Or is it gray and I'm trying to tell myself it's black so I don't cry? We'll have to see. I'll give you a cry update later. It's pretty black. For the back here, since this is gonna be on the inside, I'm not gonna totally saturate it because it would just be kind of a waste of dye. I'm going to wet it with agua. And then just kind of give it a light coat. Wetting it first kind of helps the dye just disperse a little bit more. I kind of imagine dipping a paintbrush with some watercolor into a clean cup of water. It kind of be doing that. Looks not that good, not gonna lie. It'll even out when we put the wax on. Very sad news, guys. All 6 pieces are dyed. F's in the chat, rest in peace. But on the bright side, it does mean that they're ready for wax. 6 wax to be precise. Whack, 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 whack. Very good, very pretty wax. Sorry to anybody who was hoping that I would show myself putting on the pretty wax. That was pretty whack. Now with it all whacked and dyed, we're gonna take a smooth thing type object and use it to burnish the edges. See how the edge kind of rough? I just take this little corner piece of ceramic tile, and would you look at that, smooth as heck. Okay, we got the big old parts, the bracers. And this part's very quickly becoming one of my favorite parts. Eyelets. Look, you got the little anvil, you got the post, put the eyelet on the anvil. I almost fricked that off. This part's the good looking part, the outside, so make sure that's like on the outside of the leather. Put it down, put the leather on. Now since this thing right here is kind of domed, give this a few taps. It makes the end curl out just a little bit and it holds on. And there you go, very pretty. That was almost a tragic gamer moment. I knocked this on the floor, but I had the cap on. Caps are great, no cap. Now we got this big old pack of copper rivets. Normally I make my own rivets, but these ones came with the washers, so I'm like, okay. Very, very simple. Do one of those and a little of that. The washer on and peanut. Ooh, very epic. As a YouTuber, there's a lot of tedious things that you need to do. Video editing, cleaning, but probably the most tedious out of all of them, cutting armor out of Treadplate. Ugh, cringe, bro. But if I don't do it, who's going to? Dan. But he's scared of COVID-19, so guess I gotta work again. Anyways, pretty much look at this. So the way that I figured out the armor plates is I took the templates for the leather and I laid them down on a brand new piece of paper like this. I then traced out this template onto the new piece of paper and then just literally free-handed the armor plate onto there and then cut it out. The reason you would want to do that is just to make sure that your armor piece is totally form-fit to your leather. I repeated that process for every piece of leather. So in the end, here we've got the bracer and here's the armor plate. So we got these 2 little prongs that go up underneath the wrist guard on the bracer so that there's no gap with no steel. Then we have the hand guard and the armor plate that goes on there, which is basically a muffin, not gonna lie. And then the wrist guard and the armor plate that goes on there. Definitely my favorite of the 3 armor plates. It looks like cool underwear. So I took a nice, long, relaxing afternoon to painstakingly cut out each armor plate out of some, I think this is 16 gauge tread plate. I'm not really sure, either 16 or 18. It's the thicker stuff, so it'll be a little something like that. Clearly though, we gotta do some bending. You'll notice I already have the bend marks marked out on the template. The way I figured that out is literally you just press the paper up against the leather, and wherever it naturally wants to bend, that's where you kind of mark out. This would all be borderline impossible to bend in straight lines, especially with all these like bumps and stuff. So what we're gonna do, mark out those lines. I messed up right there, but we're gonna score these lines with an angle grinder, and that's gonna make the bending a whole lot easier and cleaner. Last legs of the build, baby, very exciting. Okay, now we are going to tie or tether the wrist guard to the hand guard so that they stay pretty close to each other, stay nice and protected. When you're cutting the paracord to do this, cut more than you think you need to, because the knot that we finished this off with is gonna be like right flush up against the leather, and it's gonna be such a hassle to try to tie that if you just cut it with enough material. More is definitely better than less in this scenario. So we're gonna tie a regular knot on one end, use a lighter to seal the knot. Oh, and unlike on the prototype where I had the kind of silly looking knots popping out the top of it, I figured out a way to sort of conceal the knots. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm gonna cut this 18 inches. Kind of gratuitous, but I'm gonna treat myself. Now, I'm gonna make a bit of a needle out of this thing to make it easier to pass through the leather. Shout out to this guy that kind of gave me the idea. Melt it down. I lick my fingers and then make a needle. Wow, very pointy needle. Ow, too sharp. That's better. Well, there it is. Very pointy, sharp needle. Be careful. So I got the knot on one end and the needle on the other end. Going to pass it up through this hole. Pull it all the way up so the knot is flat up against the leather. Then I'll pass the needle down through. See how much better that looks than having like a little man bun on top? Okay, then I pass it through the hole in the front, 3/4 inches, I guess, and pass it up through the hole in the back. Then I just pass it over the hand plate, so the paracord's kind of running across the top of your hand over the hand plate. And then you just do this thing, but backwards on this side. So pass this down through the top and up through this hole, up through the front hole, and then down through the back hole. And guys, do you see how stinking easy it was to tie that knot with all this extra material here? Seriously, whenever you're ready to tether the leather together, remember to sever the tether with extra material rather than lesser, because trying and tying the tether with lesser material is quite an endeavor. So now we're going to seal this knot here. Just don't get too close to the leather or it'll stink. It's kind of hard to burn leather, but it stinks. Smell bad, smell yucky. And look at that, all that side-to-side mobility for the hand and the wrist plate stays flat up against the hand plate. Have I mentioned this looks freaking sick too? Just thought you should know. Final step, final E, making the straps that go around the hand to hold the hand plate to the glove, I guess, that you're gonna have on. Like I said, 5/8 wide, 18 inches long, somewhere between 1/8 and 3/16 thick. We're gonna skive the edges. In fact, we're gonna skive the outside and the inside. It smells like freaking poo in here. God, I'm pretty sure a squirrel is like living in the walls. Man, that freaking stinks. Figuratively and literally, that stinks. I spent so much time energy, money insulating the walls so I could be out here in the winter and just for some squirrel to be like, me too. Well, guess I'll have to figure that out off camera. Just gotta finish Gauntlets in the poo. Okay, somehow I managed to lose my other one of these tiny buckles, so I'm gonna substitute this sort of medium-sized buckle. It might be a little wiggly on the belt and it might look a little funny being that big on the back of the hand, but it's no big deal. So here's how we prepare the leather for the buckle. You start by putting a mark at 0, 1, 2, 3. Punch these out. Now we use a razor to connect these two holes. Cut halfway from one on both edges of the hole. Flip it around. Doing it this way with the flipping takes away the risk of sliding too far and sort of cutting into this part right here. And the positioning of these holes right here are gonna be either that way or that way, depending on how big your hand is. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to measure that one out for yourself. Just like with the other leather, we're gonna stain, wax, and burnish, and then we will attach the buckles using some copper rivets. Little wiggly, but it does the job. Very, very cool. I think whoever made these probably deserves a raise. Well, here we are, another month, another upload. I'm just cranking them out, huh? Maybe I need like a not uploading schedule instead of an uploading schedule, since I am like not uploading way more often than I am. Whoa, so then like, whoa, everything will finally start to get better. Cool. Wow, I figured it out, finally. Awesome. What a relief. Well, guys, on that awesome note, now that I figured out all my problems, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.